Good morning. This is the Innovation Conversation. How you doing, Tom?
Doing great, Kevin. Happy holidays to you.
You too. Last Innovation Conversation of 2024. And I think we're both having nothing to do with retail. We're both very happy Mets fans at this point because we got Juan Soto, baby.
Exactly. No price is too high.
Apparently not. So I thought a great place to start would be to talk a little bit about what we did last year when we did our predictions conversation last year. So, and I went back actually this morning as I'm recording this, I went back and watched it.
All
Um,
right.
there we are. I apparently only own I apparently only own one shirt because I'm wearing the
Oh,
same
that's funny.
shirt I was wearing last year.
Oh
Uh,
gosh.
so you did better than I did. So let me tell you what yours were a year ago. You predicted that one of the three big drugstore chains would be acquired by a non-traditional acquirer.
Eh.
And your argument was that the real estate is good, the customer base is large, but those three chains have largely been inept in terms of execution, and it would make sense for somebody to come in and acquire one of them. Yes, you were wrong, but you should have been right
I
because,
know. Well, maybe we'll carry that. Can we carry it over?
yeah, we can carry that. We'll see
Sure,
how.
maybe we'll carry that one over. This makes it
Um,
easier this year.
Two, and you got this. I think you got this absolutely right. You said there would be little or no progress in terms of brick and mortar grocery by Amazon. That they would do small things. There'd be some small rollouts and small changes, but there would not be anything transformative, and they would not achieve the universal cart that they keep talking about. You got that one right on.
Another potential carry forward as well.
But they didn't. You said they wouldn't achieve it, and they didn't achieve it. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Yes, exactly. But I'm
So
saying that's another one we could carry forward another year. This is easy.
yeah, you nailed that one completely. The third one you had was you said that retail media train is going to have to stop for refueling. So you thought it was going to peter off a little bit. Don't I think I don't and it was funny mine at what point I saw and I thought that there was going to be some consolidation in the retail media space.
Right.
Neither of us quite got it right, but I think I just think we were ahead of once again you and I were ahead of our times.
I think we're a little ahead of our time because, yeah, I mean, I would argue that obviously no shortage of
Right,
massive noise around retail media.
right,
Um, and the big in retail media got bigger,
right.
right? Amazon, Walmart crushed it. You know, Kroger, Albertsons, the next few behind that, they're growing. Although their total numbers are not massive, but decent. And then, lots of activity in the middle, but has the needle really been moved?
No.
I don't know. But yeah,
Although
maybe it hasn't.
Walmart and Amazon certainly are generating a lot of numbers.
No, no, they're taking off. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And frankly, I don't know that they're going to slow down the retail media train at all.
Yeah.
I think that they're on the express, and everyone else is on the local.
Right.
And I think, I mean, their rate of acceleration, is still higher than others. They're bigger and accelerating more. So generally,
Yeah.
not 100%
Yeah.
across the board, but generally. So,
So two things I got
all
completely
right, let's hear yours.
two things I got completely wrong. I thought that Amazon would shut down at least one of its major initiatives in which it had a big investment. I didn't know if it'd be healthcare. I didn't know or brick and mortar grocery or whatever. I thought they'd shut something down. Totally got that one wrong. I also thought that they might break themselves up pre the FTC ordering them to do it. That didn't happen.
Mhm.
Um, so I was wrong, totally wrong on those. Um, I also predicted, and you agreed with me on this one to a degree, that I thought some kind of moment of reckoning was coming for AI in the sense that something would happen in 2024 that would scare the crap out of everybody. And I thought it could be keyed around the election. That didn't happen. At least we don't know about anything,
Right, right.
which is a different issue. But I completely got that wrong. Um,
Fortunately.
one of the other one I had was that I said that the FTC would reject the Kroger Albertsons merger, which I got right. And then I predicted that the courts would then allow it. We should say, as we're recording this on Tuesday, early afternoon. Later this afternoon, the first court verdict is scheduled to come down, but we don't know what it is yet. And that's the one from Washington. We still have yet to hear from the federal court and the Colorado court. So I'll give myself a half a point on that one.
Yeah.
And and I think my bottom line when we were talking about this last year was that I felt that there had not been the kind of public policy conversation that we needed in this country to talk about the nature of competition and what that means, and how the realities have changed, and therefore the rules had to change and had to be more nuanced and had to go through more constant evolution. Um, and one of the things I said was that I thought it seemed to me that with all the stuff that was going on, the lowest priority was the consumer. We pretty much agreed on that one. That
Yeah.
everybody's looking after their shareholders, everybody's looking after stakeholders, but that the consumer is on the bottom rung of that ladder. And I don't
I
think,
agree. I mean, I think you hear the arguments that, with a merger, pricing will get better. And apparently that's, looking out for the consumer. We'll see. Maybe we'll see, maybe we won't. But that's really the only thing from that world that you're hearing about the consumer.
yeah,
I do think you're hearing a bunch from Amazon and Walmart about the consumer.
yeah,
We did our predictions last year before Walmart's, killer CES keynote, which I would encourage everybody over the holidays this year to go back and watch, and then think about how much of that did they deliver on? Most of it, if not all of
yeah,
it. So
yeah,
what's coming up this year for them, and you know how much further ahead of you are they getting?
yeah.
And that should really, cause you to really think about your own customer centricity and what you're willing to do, to invest on behalf of that customer.
Yeah. Well, we kind of thought when this year, in terms of doing predictions, that we would kind of approach it a little bit differently in terms of not in terms of what we thought would happen, because clearly I'm challenged on that degree, and you are a little bit.
Please.
But what do we think companies should do, and who should do it? So, kind of rephrasing it. So, when you think about that question. What do companies need to do and who should do it? What's your answer?
Well, having you've been watching this industry for a long time now, and in particular over the last handful of years, and then also thinking back to our predictions from last year. Um, the chain drug industry has not gotten out of its own way yet. There are mountains of challenges. I mean, they're facing them, right? But mountains of challenges and no clear path through. Kind of the grocery and essentials retail innovation you're seeing, largely to Amazon and Walmart. There's definitely a bunch of formats out there that are still innovating and doing great things in store, and are presenting good propositions to the customer. So I don't want to be completely down on it. But I would say in a lot of cases that's like traditional innovation done well, often by retailers that are good at doing it, right? And so they're rewarded for that because customers keep coming back there. Then you look at a retailer like Target that just pre-pandemic was a retail darling, and even early pandemic did well. Then you look at where they are now,
Yeah.
trying to find their path. So I think that the industry is in a really precarious position right now. Where you have the innovators, the haves are really innovating, and that's where most of it's happening. And then, most of the rest of the industry has been really like we're all busy, everybody's busy doing stuff. But are you really moving your business forward? Are you really raising the bar for customers? Are you really providing them something new and valuable in today's world, leveraging the capabilities that are available to you? And so I just don't see a lot of it. So I guess what I think retailers should be doing is something. Do something. Invest new dollars in new programs, to actually incrementally, move the bar. Not just replacing old stuff. Do something new. Um, uh, I've in my world, I've been, kind of really focused on this, and one stat that is incredibly sobering to me is in 2021, there was $5 billion invested by venture capital in our industry. So in our consumer, essentials retail industry, $5 billion in 2021.
And
Last year,
that's in technologies applicable to this industry.
technologies applicable, maybe business models like a delivery model or something,
Okay.
applicable to this industry, $5 billion. Last year, $100 million. Basically what's happened is, because this industry is basically sat still. I mean, pretty much other than bringing in new commerce technologies, right? From a tech standpoint, what has the industry really done in the last 5, 6 years,
Yeah.
right? Not much. So I think the venture world is seeing that and saying, what, we can't place bets in this industry because, this industry just doesn't, there's no adoption record here. There's no record of innovation. We can't see any return on that investment. So, that's a little bit disappointing. And I think it just puts the industry in a pretty, like I said, precarious position, that, I wouldn't say we're on the verge of extinction or anything over dramatic like that, but there's really reason to be concerned.
Well, to put that in context, that's 1/7 of a Juan Soto contract, right?
It
Or
is.
what Juan Soto is going to make in basically 2 years or something. I mean, it's like $100 million is like that's nothing.
Yeah. I think it's like an hour or two of maybe an hour and a half of Amazon sales.
And so if and and what you're saying is, and I completely buy into this, is that you've got these venture capital. It's not like they don't have the money. They just don't want to put it into this industry because they see this industry as kind of being moribund when it comes to
Yeah.
technology, innovation, and adoption.
Yeah. And you're just seeing the rate of startup failures in this industry is pretty high.
Yeah.
You can get out, you can get a couple pilots going, you get your initial venture capital, that you're getting some proof points, but you're not scaling.
Yeah.
You don't have other retailers biting, and then the capital dries up. It's just, I mean, there's not a, there's a path to getting there, but it starts with the retailers doing something.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting you say that. So I had a thing that I did where I talked about the cucumber recall, right? And one of the points that I made was that, and I said, my wife, after having had cucumbers, had a little bit of intestinal distress. We were thinking it was that, but at no point did the two different stores where we bought those cucumbers ever reach out to say, hey, you may have bought something right. Now, listen, in all honesty, I don't know that it was the cucumbers, but I don't know that it wasn't. And that has eroded my trust in buying cucumbers uh, for
Yeah.
some time. And I love cucumbers, so this is a problem. But when I said that retailers ought to be able, in this case, the two retailers where I bought those cucumbers should have been able to say, we sold cucumbers, unless people paid cash.
Right.
They know who bought cucumbers. They should be able to reach out to their cucumber consumers and say either, hey,
Yeah.
just want you to know, we know you bought cucumbers in the last week. They're not affected by the recall, so you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about them. Or you bought cucumbers. We've now learned that they are affected by the recall. You need to throw them out, bring them back, whatever it is. We're going to credit your account for the amount of money you spent on cucumbers. One of the two has to happen. And the reaction I got from the morning newsbeat readership was generally along the lines of, "Oh, we can't do that. We don't have that technology. That's not is that maybe the big guys have it, but that's not really possible for us."
Yeah.
And it's like that's almost criminal. And
It
I
is
would
almost
with
criminal.
a
A lot of
small
retailers do have the
with
technology.
a small c, and if they don't have the technology, they should have the technology.
Right. But you
It's
know
like,
what? At the end of the day, ultimately, if you're customer centric, and you don't have, well, first of all, you're customer centric, you probably do have the technology. But
Right,
if you are and don't happen to have the technology, you can also send a note to everyone
right.
and just say, you may have bought cucumbers. If you've bought cucumbers, we have not found this issue in our stores. We will continue to search. And if we do find this issue, we'll let you know.
Which goes back to the thing we talked about a year ago, which was companies not being customer centric. That
Yeah.
the consumer
Flip service. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
To me, there's
Yeah.
like there's no excuse for that.
No.
Um, and I
No.
just and I think you're right. I mean, that investment number is scary. And I think to a great extent, if retailers don't have that technology, it's not or aren't using that technology, it's not because it's not available.
Yeah.
It's because it's just not important to them.
And it's across the board. It's not just technologies that touch I mean, all technologies
Right.
ultimately serve the consumer, the customer, but it could be a supply chain technology. It could be a merchandising technology. It could be a personalization, or, commerce, digital marketing type of technology. It could be health tech. It could be culinary, right? There's a lot of places that those tech advances could be coming. And I know Venture would certainly support it if the industry was actually interested in delivering it to their customers.
Well, and like one of the things that I thought that I think we're going to see some adoption of in the new year is going to be the whole smart cart technology. I'm really impressed with what Instacart's doing. I'm impressed with what Amazon is doing. I think the technology is only going to be better, and I think that stuff's great. But again, to come back to my previous comment, these carts are really good for me to know if I put three cucumbers into the
Yes,
cart.
exactly.
It
Yes.
knows that I put the cucumbers there. It was able to weigh them.
Yeah.
If it knows that information, it seems to me that Amazon and Instacart and anybody else who's going to be working on this kind of technology ought to build into that the ability to immediately oh my God, there's a cucumber recall.
Yeah.
We need to immediately run a program that's going to identify everybody who bought them. And we're going to instantly communicate with them. And so, listen, I think I love it. What do they have to do? They have to do something, for God's sakes.
Something. Yeah.
Um, and not everything is expensive, and they ought to be. And this is a conversation I know we're going to have in the new year, but they also have to be finding ways to invest in this stuff, right? To not just be, um, in their own way, passive consumers of technology, but rather to be much more proactive about figuring out where are the friction points, where's the white
Yeah.
space, and how do we make how do we become more active in the development and then the implementation of these
A
technologies,
100%.
but even to the point where if a company if if one of the problem venture capitalists have with the food industry is that the adoption rate is low. I think in a lot of part that's because even if people who allow for technologies to come into their stores, if it doesn't change everything in 3 months, they figure that's it. They're done, right? It's going to be so important for them to feel, maybe the wrong phrase is emotionally invested,
Yeah.
but they certainly need to be intellectually invested and financially invested and emotionally invested in making this stuff work.
Absolutely. 100. Yes, absolutely. And there's just too much of waiting until either competition has it or one of the, known faster mover innovators does it.
Right.
Let them prove it out. Let them, take the early lumps, and then once it's
Right.
proven, then we'll introduce it. Over time, while that may be safe in the short term, over time, you're gonna miss out. You're gonna be so far behind innovation curves that with each innovation that your partners or your competitors get before you, you're just gonna be losing a few customers each time. And then over time, you're gonna look up one day and say, "Where'd all my customers go?" And they're shopping with the smart cart in your competitive store, right? Or
Right.
they follow personalized, down to the person recommendations, in the other store, or they're using auto replenishment from the other store. Like, yeah, geez, I guess I should have done that a little earlier because that, that slow drip of customer loss has really added up.
Well, and the other thing is that the the distance between the haves and the have-nots is only going to get bigger.
No,
Right? It's going
it's
to widen,
crazy how much bigger it's getting.
and and whether or not Kroger and I mean, even Kroger and Albertsons feel that about, and when they think of themselves compared to Costco, Walmart, and Amazon.
Yeah,
And then you add them in there, and the distance between them and the next few companies is wide. And if you're below the top 10, the distance it's not, it's like the Grand freaking Canyon.
it is. It
Right?
is. It is.
And
Yeah.
and to carry the Grand Canyon metaphor, you're on a mule trying to traverse it, and it's like it's not going to work.
No. Didn't work for Evil Knievel trying to go fast over it either, but
Well, this is turning into a
but at least he took a risk
I mean,
and he lived.
people watching this may be thinking, well, geez, these guys need to relax a little bit and be more cheerful going into the holidays.
Grumpy old men.
But I actually would reject that, and I think you would too, in the sense that we're not being grumpy, and we're not even being pessimistic. We're actually being optimistic in the sense that we think these retailers can do it.
There's no doubt they can do it.
They
You just
can,
have to have the will.
absolutely. There's
Yeah,
a huge difference between can and will, and
exactly.
and they've got to figure out a way to traverse that. Well, the thing is, we're going to have a lot to talk about in the new year. As I start off by saying, this is the last innovation of conversation of 2024. While more
Crazy.
Beat's going on a different schedule in 2025, we're going to continue to do this. It may not be every other week, but it could be more frequently. It could be. We're going to react to events and
Yeah.
and do it when it seems appropriate and relevant. And so we're going to see a lot of each other,
It's
and
going
the
to be fun.
audience will see a lot of us. I got one last prediction. The New York Mets are not going to win the national will not win the National League East in 2025. They'll get a wild card.
Okay.
They may get into the World Series, but I think this is not a short term, like, oh my God, the world's going to change tomorrow. This is going to take a little time. And as Mets fans and basically most baseball fans know, things happen.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Dodgers won the World Series, and I don't know that anybody on the pitching staff in the World Series was in their top four starters at the beginning of the
No,
year,
definitely. That was a piecemeal for sure.
right? And so, but you know what they did? They innovated,
They did.
right?
Exactly.
And in their own way, the Mets, once they got over a miserable beginning, they innovated. And yeah, sometimes you innovate with Juan Soto, but sometimes you innovate with a shortstop who hasn't played or a second baseman who hasn't played in the major leagues for 2 or 3 years, and suddenly magic happens. So
Exactly.
there you go. All right.
Eat is
Well,
a
listen, my
verb.
friend, thank you as always. I love these conversations. I love you. And I appreciate it. And I will see you soon.
No, this is awesome. And yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing y'all in 25.
Take care,
Thanks,
everybody.
man.